And one permaculture principle is that for each function that you want to perform, like having water, you should have at least 2 and preferably 3 elements that perform that function. And the reason for that is so that you maintain resilience to change. And that change might be to do with breakage, or it might be to do with climate, or any other kind of factor to do with the environment locally. So having more than one water source is quite important. So we collect rainwater off the barn, which you'll see. We've got the stream, but obviously carrying it up from the stream is just a slog. We have other roofs, like on the compost loos. Their roofs collect the water for the hand washing, and we collect a lot of water off the goat shed, so the animals have their water. And then the borehole, we decided, because you can't monitor the impact that you're having on the water underground, that we would only use the borehole for drinking water. So there's a kind of immediate limit on that anyway. And luckily, when we have it tested each year, and it's fine, it's quite high in iron, because the soil is very high in iron, which is why it's a bit red. And we initially had a diesel generator that pumped it into that kind of spaceship thing behind there. But that wasn't permaculture, that was a kind of emergency solution to needing to get it out. And obviously that used fossil fuels, and the other thing was that everyone was really scared of this generator. Not without good reason, really. And there was only really one person who could kind of work it properly. So that's not an ideal situation. So we were contacted by some people who design stuff for water aid. And they designed this deep well hand pump that they were going to take out to fairly remote parts of Africa. But they needed somewhere where their prototype would get regular usage.
Perfect. To
kind of test drive it, see which bits needed modification. And they asked us if we would have it.
Yes, please.
And it's fantastic. It did need a little bit of repair. They came and did that. And they changed a bit of the design, so that worked for them as well. The water is 160 feet down, so that's 50 something metres. So that's quite a long pipe. And the essential thing about this system is that the handle is left down. If you leave it up, then the pressure goes and the water drains away from the pipe. So there's a column of water that just sits there.
You need to tell your volunteer that, because I helped him this morning and I said, should I leave it up or down? He said up.
Okay.
So,
thanks for that.
What was your name?
We'll know who. It takes 100 and something pumps to bring it back up the column. Wow. So you don't forget that too often.
It's like a punishment, isn't it? 150
so people
pumps.
bring their containers and fill them with fresh water, and some people filter it and some people don't.
Does it go through a plastic pipe, or like clay or metal? The pipe that goes down.
Good question. It's coming out as a plastic pipe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, actually, that's the housing. I'm feeling it might be metal.
I think they are normally metal.
Yeah, I think it is. And it's a smaller.
50 metres.
It is a lot. Yeah, it was the third hole they dug before they found enough flow.
Do you know where it's coming from?
The water table?
Yeah, there's a spring about half a mile there that probably comes from the same underground source. But I don't exactly. I know that the Woodlands, the kind of theme parky place just down the road, and the golf course. The golf course couldn't get permission to go onto the mains, so they have 6 boreholes, I've been told, on an electric pump, and they run a golf course, a hotel, all the swimming pool, jacuzzi, all that kind of stuff, restaurants, you know, a whole complex of borehole water, which makes we'll only use it for drinking. It's a bit redundant in a way, or even more necessary depending on how you look at it. But through some quite heavy usage with those 2 places in particular, one of the farmers told me, who's been farming for 3 generations down the road, said that before those places were built, this land never dried out, even in really hot summers, because the water table was quite high, so there's always water to come up. And since kind of late 70s or whatever it was, in a very hot summer, there is now a tendency for the ground to be cracking. So the water table is lowered as a result of taking some of that groundwater, it would seem. So there is good reason to be cautious about mining water if you're not a skilled up geologist to know exactly what's going on.
The digging of swales and things, that recharges the water table, doesn't it? The more you make the land itself like water retaining,
Sure.
it slowly drips down into the aquifers again, doesn't it?
Yeah. Golf courses aren't famous for their swales.
I'm interested in what was the machine like? How did it? Because a lot of places, I imagine it wouldn't be possible to get a machine that can dig a 50-metre hole onto the site. But
well, they drove up with their drill bits on the back of
It's a
flatbed.
piece of plant machinery. Just
yeah, they're normally like huge corkscrews.
Yeah, and then they add another one as they go down, same as with an oil rig.
So it's not like a huge vehicle, really?
No, it's not like a crane or anything like that.
Okay.
No, they had a vehicle with some kind of winding mechanism, and I think it was a sort of flatbed truck with the drill bits on.
Okay.
And they used them all up. they used every extension they had. So that was as deep as they could go.
There are a few efforts out there to make open source
Was it guesswork, or did the guy come along?
technologies to dig the hole, because the machinery, because the hole's quite the pieces are quite expensive, but they're not very complicated.
right.
Yeah.
But what is it? Some kind of steel or something?
It's corkscrew, yeah, giant.
It's just like an auger, you know, those things that you twist around.
Yeah.